Welcome to episode 4 of the PTS podcast, where the Poulters Talk Sports. My name is Paul, joined as always by my brother Daniel. And on today's episode, we will be discussing the first part of what could turn into a 7 or 8 part series discussing
Lord.
NFL schedules division by division, beginning this time with the NFC North before a trip to the bar to talk about the Giants and the 49ers and a little bit of the formerly Oakland Athletics.
Oh, dude,
So-
are you excited for the...
Yeah, they don't.
Look forward to that.
That's going to be terrible. We're going to start off with certainly not my Chicago Bears. Chicago not only had the number 1 overall pick, they made a ton of moves in the offseason. Before I ask you a week-by-week prediction on how they turn out this year, what are your initial thoughts on what the Bears did this offseason?
Overall, I liked what the Bears did. I really love Roman Odunze. My top wide receiver in the draft. A little biased being a Washington fan. But I think the Bears is very, very simple. Is Caleb Williams closer to Patrick Mahomes? Or is he closer to... Name your bust
Andy
top pick
Dalton.
quarterback. Like, a little more flamboyant than Andy Dalton, but just like the standard practice for Chicago Bears quarterbacks. I like him a lot more from just the standpoint of he's a proven just pull it out of the hatter. He finds ways of things which at the NFL level he may get punished for. We'll see how the Bears do. It's also to see how he does with the Bears aren't going to win every game. They're probably, depending on other things, going to finish, if we're looking positively, maybe 9-8, but we'll find out. See how he deals with that. He did not handle that well at USC last year. No one really handled USC well last year. That may just because it's like LA and he's living in a penthouse and the season doesn't matter and he's already won life and it's basically just don't get hurt before the NFL draft. So I kind of get it. So I get why some scouts may just be like, that's not for me. Like, does he really love football or some shit? But he's already at OTAs doing off the back foot, flipping around backwards, doing a somersault into a throw, shenanigans, and you're just like, I think he'll be fine. The bigger problem for them is NFC North kind of slaps.
Yeah, all of a sudden. Yeah.
And they could fall off because I could point to all 3 other teams in that division and be like, they could have massive regressions, or they could all be Murders Row .frozen north .jpg.
It turned into a similar thing to the AFC North, where for a long time it's been, Ravens, Steelers at minimum, let alone recently since Baker and Burrow, the Browns and Bengals have been more relevant. So
yeah, the Bears, I think their defense was fine. Their offense should be a lot better in theory. It is still a rookie quarterback. They're gonna have bumps. They're gonna have just turmoil. There's going to be the first game of the season, the other team is going to want to beat the crap out of the hot new kid. That's how it always works. But I cautiously optimistic. We'll see once we get to the picks. There's a chance I'm just yes, 4-13. Congratulations, Chicago. But I would not be surprised if they do make the biggest problem is it's the same thing with the Sacramento Kings have, where I don't trust them even if they do it. Where are they going to be the trendy Houston Texans pick this season? I think there's a decent chance a lot of people will have them as their, I came out of nowhere because I have a rookie quarterback who's good and I have a good young wide receiver. Oh, they made the playoffs. But I can also see, it's the Bears organization, and they just bears it up.
For the record, Nick Wright of First Things First fame currently has been flirting with the idea of picking the Bears to make the Super Bowl. That is how
All right.
deep in the paint some people are going for this
Yeah,
Chicago
but
Bears team.
do we really want to be supporting Nick Wright
I think Nick
in
Wright's fine.
anything he does,
I think he's fine.
especially when it comes to
As
football
long
takes?
as long as LeBron's not involved, I'm cool. That's my baseline when it comes to Nick Wright.
Maybe, but I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna put the crazies back into the corner, and then just pat him on the head and just be like, okay, so
He brings up a point though.
there's no way.
The NFC is distinctly weaker as a conference compared to the AFC, just with the wealth of QB talent over in the AFC.
Yes, from a QP standpoint, but that also doesn't stop the Bears from being the Bear. Like, they'll just get double doinked again. Like, can I see Caleb Williams losing to a double doink?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I see it being the Eagles again? Yeah. Can I see it being the maybe flipped and it's the Bears kicker? Or like
the Eagles kicker?
the Eagles kicker doing the doink and then it goes in, like just like
Yeah.
perfect. Like there's no way the Bears don't Bears this at some point. That doesn't mean they can't make the playoffs, but that just means the second the playoffs start, I'm expecting like insert team, unless they play the Cowboys, and then it's just a flail off of.
Yeah, exactly.
Though I am a known Cowboy hater. Their win loss is going to be bad.
Your microphone's a little loud, by the way. If you can just move it ever so slightly.
Oh, is it a little bit? I'll figure that one out.
Just want to let you, because it's coming through pretty loud.
I think I may also just be like going cray cray.
Oh, that's okay. Let's get started with week 1. Now, this is interesting because if this team had their previous coach, I would absolutely agree with the take you just had about how you thought that they would want to smash Caleb in the mouth. It's the formerly Mike Vrabel-led Tennessee Titans in Chicago at Soldier Field. So,
I'm gonna do win losses here as well.
Okay, so
I'm typing on a notepad of justice.
So, first game, home against the Titans. Who you got? So for context, Titans added Calvin Ridley, added Tony Pollard, fired Mike Vrabel, still have
they still got mayonnaise McCoffee man, right?
Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis. Will Levis more likely the starter at this point than Tannehill? Actually,
yeah,
Tannehill might be a free agent.
I'm not sure, but I'm clocking that up for a dub for the Bears.
As would I. Tough ask. Week 2, travel to Houston to take on the Houston Texans led by C.J. Stroud. That's a great game, by the way. I would love to.
That is a good game. I think that the Texans will stumble at points this season. I just don't think it's going to be that game. 1-1 for the Bears.
For the Bears.
Week 3. What do we got?
Week 3 at Indianapolis. So in a dome, Indy's weird because Indy's a team that is going to be really good if their quarterback stays healthy, and he has not shown the ability to do that in the first year of play. So, but obviously we have to assume health. So,
but it's week 3. I'm gonna go with Indy takes the win. 2-game losing streak, 1-2.
Okay, little bit of a homecoming. Travels to Los Angeles.
I'm not sure if that's a homecoming, but
down the street that's probably 2 hours in traffic to. Oh no, I'm mistaken. I'm so sorry. It is at home Chicago against the Rams. So at Soldier Field.
I'll take the surprising win. Let's go 2-2 for the Bears.
Okay.
I just think that the Rams I'm suspect on the Rams. I think the Rams are going to take a little bit. I think the Rams will be fine by the end of the season. Not like I think they'll be bad. This is maybe one of those games you look back at it who grabbed the last playoff spot between the Rams and the Bears. Though I could also see the Rams just absolutely blowing them out of the water and it being ugly. But I'm going 2-2.
So
I'm
no
going
Aaron
2-2.
Donald, obviously, post his
Yeah, yeah.
retirement. Second week in a row at home, this time with Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers coming to town.
Let's tentatively say win.
Okay.
So 3-2. I like Bryce Young as a quarterback. I'm not sure if that's a hot take nowadays.
Kind of is a little bit.
But I think it's gonna be one of those things where get him an offensive line, which they did, and he will work wonders for you. And the owner to stop meddling.
Yeah,
He probably won't stop meddling.
probably.
What do we got next?
Finishing off the last week before the bye week, third straight home game. This time, Trevor Lawrence comes to town as the Jacksonville Jaguars from. Oh my goodness, this game is in England. This game is not a home game. It's technically a home game for the Bears, technically, but it's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in England. So it's an 8:30 a.m. game West Coast time.
I'm going with a loss.
Yep, same.
Mainly from not because I think Jacksonville is better, because I'm indifferent. The biggest thing I think is that the Jaguars are used to playing over there, and I could see the Bears doing something so like flying in the day before the game or something stupid instead of like flying out early in the week, like the Steelers did a couple of years ago, I think, versus the Niners.
Yeah, so just for context, the week before when they play the Panthers, that's a noon kickoff on the West Coast. So a noon kickoff, or actually, nope, it's CDT. So that's Central. So that's a 10 a.m. game. So it's a 10 a.m. kickoff. So they'll have a 10 a.m. game and then potentially be able to fly out that night and get a whole week. Will they do that? Probably not, but it would be a good idea.
Probably not.
Fortunately for them, coming back from England, they have a bye week, which is nice. So they've got.
That is key. But I do think they'll lose to Jacksonville.
As do I. They've got a week off, and then they play the fighting Jaden Daniels at Commanders Field in Washington, D.C. Who you got? Battle of the top two picks in this NFL draft.
Top two picks. I don't think that Washington's defense will be fully installed yet. I'll go 4-3.
Okay.
I'll be a W for the Bears.
Okay, so keep this in mind. This is quite the travel. They're going from Washington, D.C., traveling to Arizona to take on Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., and the Arizona Cardinals.
How much do I like the Cardinals? I don't know if I do, but it seems like one of those dumb games that they're both going to score like 40 points, and then some team loses off of a kicker missing a field goal. I'm going to go... It's after the bye week.
So it's after Washington, which is
after Washington. Okay,
so
4-4.
week.
I'll have them losing to Arizona.
Okay.
I'm not sure I have that one fully, but I think that's what I'm going with.
They travel back home in week 10 to Soldier Field to take on Drake May, the third pick in the draft, and the New England Patriots without Bill Belichick at the helm anymore. Who you got?
That should be a win.
I think Patriots have worst team in the league written all over them.
They have a lot of worst team in the league written all over them, unless
I wouldn't be surprised if they make it to 6 wins because their coach gets them to care enough. But talent-wise, I think they have maybe the worst.
Yeah, I got much.
So, kicking off what's going to turn into a 3-game homestand, second game of that homestand against the division rival Green Bay Packers. Now, this is something to note. This is their first division game, and it's week 11. So, they are in an interesting spot where they don't play a lot of familiar teams until later in the year.
I am higher on the Packers than the Bears, so I will be taking the Packers for 5-5.
Okay.
But I think this is where things may change. We'll see.
I think this is one of the hardest games on the schedule to predict. Following what could be a brutal division game, they've got another one, but it is at home again against the Minnesota Vikings. Likely JJ McCarthy, who probably will win the starting job over Sam Darnold, but we likely will be starting at minimum by week 12. So
I think Darnold starts the season, but
good.
I think the biggest thing with the Vikings is I do think JJ McCarthy will be starting by then.
Yep.
I have no faith in him.
Nope.
It still could be good enough to, if Jamar Chase is on this, not Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson is still on this roster by that point, which is
all of a sudden is not as certain as we'd like to think.
Especially if he just goes pay me like $50 million a year and trade me, which is not unheard of. I will take a reluctant win, but I could also see that being the game with the Bears aggressively.
Okay, we've got a big one. Thanksgiving.
Quack quack.
At Detroit.
Detroit by 50,000.
Yeah, probably accurate. So
I don't know if I can't remember if the Lions have a bad Thanksgiving Day tradition. They usually do because they're the Lions, but
they played the Packers this past season, and it was close. I don't remember who won, but it was close. That might have been the game that Jordan Love played really bad. No,
maybe.
So interesting. I feel like this would be a really nice benefit if it was any other opponent, but they're gonna have 10 days off before they play the San Francisco 49ers in the Bay Area. I think I know where you're going with this one.
The big question, let me do some snooping. Is that the 49ers will be coming off of two very difficult games that we'll talk about later, but let's just say it rhymes with Arctic Tundra .jpg Buffalo pain, and then they're coming home. So it could be like, oh, we just lost 2 games. We want to beat the crap out of the Bills, or I mean not the Bills, out of the Bears. But it could also be, oh, we just got injuried the hell, and the Bears steal one because we were playing up to our competition. Now we're playing down, which the Niners are known to do. I'm gonna give it to the Niners, but don't be surprised if they come back and take that one right there.
Okay, so that's a loss right there. Moving on to week 15. Monday Night Football at Minnesota. So at the Fighting JJ McCarthy's.
I think they will get that one. The Vikings will get that one.
Okay.
I think they split the season series, but that seems like the more likely one where the Vikings pull something dumb out of their face holes.
Week 16, home against the Detroit Lions.
Still loss.
Next week, Thursday Night Football, week 17, home against the Seattle Seahawks. Both teams potentially fighting for a playoff spot at this point.
They're either both fighting for playoffs or both draft capital because we don't know what Seattle's going to be. I'm going to say a loss because I think they'll start to spiral, but I think that's
They will finish
What I'm
up.
thinking.
It's to be determined because it's a flex game, but it's at Green Bay. Will be their last game of the year.
They'll lose that. Well, it depends if Green Bay has anything to play for.
Which is likely because they probably are fighting for seeding. And as a Packers fan, trust me when I tell you that they will give everything to beat the Bears and ruin their day if they can.
The question is, do I think the Bears nip the Packers once? I'm gonna say they do.
Okay. What are they at? Is that like
7
eight or
and
nine?
10.
Yeah.
So
Which
I
with a
think
rookie quarterback, I think that's fair. Like,
I think Bears would probably take that. They're not. They probably want to have a Houston season, but like,
especially because they traded for people like Keenan Allen, who I think's only on a 1 year deal and stuff.
yeah. So
But
not too bad, not shabby.
let's transition. Would you like to talk about Minnesota, or would you like to talk about Detroit?
Let's go Minnesota.
Okay, Minnesota. You want to give me a recap on how you think their offseason went?
So I I think their offseason is incomplete because Justin Jefferson's contract looms over this team like an absolute like meteorite coming to crash into Earth.
Yep.
Um, and until that's resolved, I don't think any single Minnesota Vikings fan can be calm
Yeah.
or
As of
because
today, he has not been showing up to optional OTAs.
yeah, which is expected.
Yeah, he's a
It's the
veteran.
same thing with Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco or uh, um, Devonte Adams um, in Las Vegas. Uh, I don't expect to see any of them, especially Justin Jefferson. If he plays or even trains in the overtime, like you'd love him to be in the building, but like you have to figure out that's the entire thing. I am not a Sam Darnold fan. But I do think he'll be the starter because he's being paid starter money.
Sure.
And what I mean by starter money, I mean stopgap starter money. He got the
Was he getting paid like 9 mil? Is that right?
I think it's more than that. He was um Darnold. He's making 10 years. This 1 year, $10 million
Yeah, so give or take
for the
9.
Donald man. Um, Overall, I think the Vikings are the team most likely to finish last in this division.
I would
I
agree.
do not trust their quarterbacks. And if early on they're starting to struggle and they haven't signed this contract, which I think they'll have to sign it to figure out something before the year, um, you better. All I'm gonna say is if you trade him, you better get the largest farm in all the Midwest.
Right. So if we look at recent trades of star wide receivers, particularly those that want a new contract, the one that stands out is Tyreek Hill, who got traded to the
Yes,
Dolphins for, I believe, a first and a third. I believe. There was also Devonte Adams who got traded to the Raiders.
he was traded for 5 draft picks: a first round, a second round, a fourth, and a sixth.
1, 2, 4, 4, 6. Okay. So we'd all agree that no matter how good Tyreek Hill is, Justin Jefferson's better. He's also younger. He also has less baggage than Tyreek Hill had. By all accounts, is an upstanding citizen. Um, I mean, you're probably looking at 2 1s and something. Like,
If not more.
I
Like
also don't know what team I mean, realistically, Minnesota wants to move him to the AFC. I mean, the team that makes the most sense is the Bengals.
Minnesota.
I mean, trade him
Bengals do make a lot of sense, especially like
for T Higgins, a first, and some stuff.
they're
Like,
probably gonna ask for 2 firsts and T Higgins, but then you're paying T Higgins, and you're like,
I don't really want to do that. Well, could they flip T Higgins somewhere else? Whatever, it's fine.
you'd probably try to flip him, yeah.
Yeah. So let's just flip him to the Chiefs. It'd be hilarious. Um,
All right.
so let's. We're gonna go in reverse. You're gonna go ahead and read me the Minnesota Vikings schedule.
All right, you writing down the
Uh,
win-loss or no?
I can if you would like me to. Let me just pull it up.
If you can.
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, first game. Play New York Giants at Giants.
I hate that. That's an early season terrible game.
That's why it's a 12 o'clocker.
So we've got
Early morning
Daniel
lifestyle.
Jones, added Malik Neighbors. God, that game sucks. Give me the Vikings. I hate that.
NFL on Fox. And after that snoozer, they get kicked in the teeth by welcoming the San Francisco 49ers
In Minnesota.
in Minnesota.
Home opener, I'll still take the Niners.
All right. It doesn't get easier as they play another home game against the Houston Texans.
Give me the
Isn't
Texans.
this swell? Week 4 of this slaughterhouse, they welcome the Green Bay Packers. And when I mean welcome, I mean they're playing at the Packers.
So what's going to happen is Sam Darnold will start for 4 games, and this is where he gets pulled halfway through, and they lose.
All right. Spoilers, but I think it will happen in a couple weeks. Week 5.
Yeah.
You welcome Miss America. It's it's Aaron Rodgers and the Jets
In Minnesota.
in Minnesota.
Give me the Jets. Ugh. Give me the Jets.
And then they have a bye week.
Oh.
I think that's when
Yeah.
it happens. Is
Probably.
week 6. And then it doesn't get any easier. Week 7, Detroit Lions.
God, make it stop. I hate the Vikings, but I hate this. Give me the Lions.
This is going well. Week 8, they get to go and get their kneecaps gnawed off by the Los Angeles Rams. This is a Thursday night football game after playing the Lions, so short rest.
Is it in Minnesota or in LA?
It's in LA.
Give me the Rams.
Ruh-roh. Week 9, they go back home and play the Indianapolis Colts.
I'll give them a win.
Give them a pity win.
Pretty much because I like the Colts and I don't really think that they're gonna lose, but it's
back
fine.
to Southern California. And what I mean by Southern California, I mean the swamps of Florida. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
In Duval.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's going well.
Give me Jacksonville.
Oh. More AFC South for the fun
Please say
times.
it's Titans.
They go to the Titans next.
Oh, give them a win. Give them a win. Titans are going to be. I think Titans are actually going to be the worst team. That team looks terrible.
Titans could be quite bad.
Although they
Next
just added
up,
a couple of players. So.
Speaking of teams we've talked about, it's going to the Bears, Week 12.
In Chicago.
In Chicago.
Give me the Bears.
And then they host the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinalians.
Long trip for the Cardinals, playing in a dome, playing at home. Give me the Vikings. Give me the Vikings.
Sure. Then we got the rootin' tootin'est Hotlanta.
Kirk Cousins
lemon pepper wet.
Is it in Atlanta?
It is hosted by the Vikings.
Okay, so Kirk Cousins revenge game.
Yep.
God, I think the Falcons are going to be sick this year, especially if they didn't draft Michael freaking Penix. I mean, yeah, give me the Vikings or give me the Falcons.
Next up, we got Monday Night Football versus the Bears.
Okay, this is at home, so give me Minnesota.
Okay. second to last, or not second to last, but week 16, they head to Seattle for a like
A mid-off.
it's like Sunday afternoon football. It's like 4 o'clock, so it's like a Sunday night football early game,
Yeah.
which may get flexed out.
So as someone, I have this belief. Same with the Broncos. If it's close, and the Broncos or Seattle are at home, give me that team. So give me Seattle.
Sure, sure. And then we've got the Green Bay Packers at home.
The Packers always play the Vikings terribly at least once. So give me
Yes.
the Vikings at home.
Okay. They wrap off the season heading to Detroit.
Yeah, give me Detroit.
All right. What miraculous score did you pick up here?
That's 6-11.
So
And that's me
being positive.
trying to give them wins that I don't necessarily think they will get.
If I had to pick, I'm picking them last in the division, but then they proved me wrong, and Sam Darnold's going to be comeback player of the year. And
I mean, their coach is good, and he's really well respected, and I think he's really good at overachieving with quarterbacks that aren't very good. But I mean, he got Case Keenum to a freaking division win on the Minneapolis Miracle because the Saints are terrible. Anyway,
yeah, I think that says more about the Saints.
Sure does. Let's move on. This is the fun part where you get to talk about my team, the Green Bay Packers.
Give me the cheese.
The Cheeseheads, once again,
the big cheese,
refused to make me happy during the draft. And
probably means they did well.
Which means they probably did well, exactly. So what do you think about the Packers offseason and where they go from here?
All right. My biggest question for the Packers is was the playoffs legitimate or is it a mirage? Because if it's not a mirage, then you're having it's gonna be a great time. If Jordan Love turns back into a pumpkin,
we're gonna have some problems.
You're gonna have a really bad season.
I want to say, by the way, this is a contract year for Jordan Love. I
believe
that's the way they restructured his.
So there's a chance they may have to do that before this season, before the year.
No, they extended him a year, and he was the same draft class as Tua, who has not been paid. So he's got at least another year.
He's got one more. Okay.
Yeah, so I think he's on a 2-year deal right now.
Something like that. So, I think Jordan Love is relatively good. Played down in the Central Valley in California. I believe he was a Liberty of Bakersfield.
I'm sorry.
Which actually has some surprisingly quality high school football. It's only spread out from 8 teams total in the entire area, but those 8 teams are pretty good. They play some teams up here in the Bay Area surprisingly very well. And then they thought they could beat De La Salle, and that was adorable.
That was not the case.
Well, this is the weakest De La Salle team tangent that's happened in a while.
Don't matter.
But let's talk about some cheese. Can you serve up the first plate? I'm looking for some fine cheddar, maybe some some Gouda.
If people are curious, biggest offseason addition is going to be Xavier McKinney coming over from the Giants to play safety because their secondary was, in a word, bad.
I guess that's good.
Oh, Josh Jacobs too, coming in for Aaron Jones, which was really.
I think that's just the same thing. That's just a running back go burst. But yeah, I'm not too worried about it.
Oh, because there's no bias here. Week 1 at Philly.
In Brazil.
It's actually at the Arena Corinthians.
Well, I'm excited for these 2 notoriously famous green franchises
to not be able to wear green.
to not wear green in
It's gonna be
Brazil.
it's gonna be like yellow on white or like white on
Just
black.
like, Brazilians always say, "Come to Brazil."
Yeah, come to
Well,
Brazil.
maybe not. Let's pump those brakes. I think it'll be a good game. This is a complete coin flip
Yeah,
because
agreed.
you're traveling to Brazil and you have no clue what the hell. I'm gonna say Eagles go home happy. Packers lose.
That's my initial feeling too, because keep in mind the Packers are notoriously terrible in Week 1. They got
Yeah.
beat 37-3 by a not very good Saints team like 2 years ago. I think they did bad last year. I think they've lost to the Vikings in Week 1 this past year. Like they do not do good Week 1. So I totally agree that the Eagles are going to win that. Week 2 home opener against the Indianapolis Colts.
I say it's another coin flip game for me because I do think that the Colts will be a lot better than people. I think the Colts have a chance to win that division.
I agree.
If Houston falls,
Regresses, which is likely, even though they overrated.
likely just because everyone's going to be gunning for him. I'm going to go with a win for Green Bay. Though would I bet on it? No.
Week 3, traveling to Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, it's a win. It's
Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah. Week 4,
Mayonnaise
home.
boy could surprise me, but
I doubt it.
no.
Week 4, home against the Vikings.
That's a win. That's gonna be a win right there.
Week 5, traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Now, keep in mind, this might be a Packers home game in terms of fans.
Oh, it will
Because
be.
both LA teams do not have the backing compared to a lot of.
I'm gonna do the same thing I did for the Bears. I think the Rams are going to struggle early, so 4-1
Okay.
for the
Uh,
Cheeseheads.
Back home to take on the Cardinals.
Uh, win.
Week.
The
It's
That could be
interesting.
one of those weird
I understand it's probably
weird
a
games.
different regime, different players all over. I get nightmares about running quarterbacks against the Packers, so
Yeah, it's
Kyler's
not
a
wrong.
little terrifying.
All right, all
Although
right.
Jair Alexander talking smack to Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be sick.
Oh,
Week 7, the CJ Strouds travel to Lambeau Field.
I'll take Houston.
I will
Um,
too, but it's
just because I
interesting.
think it may be one of those things where Houston uh needs the game a lot more than the Packers. So
Yeah.
I think there's a chance like if Houston's uh 3-3 or like not living up to expectations, they may desperately need that one more than the Packers need it. So
What's interesting is I always try and take note of typically warm weather teams traveling to outdoor cold places. This
it's
is like
true.
middle to late October, so shouldn't be terrible, but
Yep, yep, yep.
we'll see. Uh, Following week, travel to Duval County to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think they'll beat the Jaguars, but that's another one of those
I would bet my
coin flip.
house that they lose. You know why? Because anytime they go to Florida,
Uh-huh.
they stink. The lone exception was the game that Tua got concussed.
I
That's the lone exception. Keep in mind
guess.
when they lost 37-3 against the Saints, that was the game that took place in Florida because of the hurricane.
Hmm.
So,
All right.
but it is late October. It's probably less warm. Probably better for them. Last game before the bye week, at home against the Detroit Lions. Big game.
Um, I would say they.
It's tough.
I'll have the Lions winning.
All right, Dying Fire. Week 11 at the Bears.
I think they beat the Bears. Though that may be one of those ones where those two games may be flipped, where they may beat the Lions and then have an emotional letdown and lose to the Bears.
Yep. Week 12, probably their biggest game of the year. Home against the San Francisco 49ers.
I think they win.
I do too. I think they're going to be more up for that game than the Niners will be.
The Niners will There's just gonna be cold. It's before Thanksgiving. There's a
Yeah.
chance it could be snowing. It's just gonna be lame. Like
Thursday night football, Thanksgiving edition, home against the Dolphins.
I want to put loss, but Dolphins and cold don't mix.
It's
So
last
I'll
week of November in
yeah, I'll take Green
in
Bay.
Green Bay. Week 14, oddly enough, another Thursday night game. So back-to-back Thursday night games at Detroit.
I think Detroit gets this one.
As do I. This might be really tough in
Uh-huh.
Seattle. Now, to be fair, 10 days off. So
Yeah,
10 days off.
I think they'll get that one.
Um, and then another long week, Monday Night Football, at home against Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints.
I think they'll win that one.
Week 17 at Minnesota.
I think they lose that one.
Week 18, unknown time, but home against the Bears.
I think they'll lose that one.
Okay, what's the final record? 10-7?
11-6.
Not bad. Makes sense. I think if Jordan Love is even remotely what we think he is or what he showed during the playoffs, I think that's incredibly reasonable. They play, I mean, if you look at the teams they play outside of their division,
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, the NFC West is really coin flippy. The AFC South's kind of coin flippy. And then I think they lucked out because they play teams like New Orleans and Miami at
Mm-hmm.
home. I think that's great for them to be able to play both those teams. Who's the other team they play that's not in? Oh, they play the Eagles week 1 in Brazil. So
Yeah.
actually, the 3 games they play outside of the division or the 2 divisions that they play
Mm-hmm.
is in Brazil and 2 home games. So that's honestly not a bad shake.
It's not bad.
Let's finish this up. Let's go to the Detroit Lions. What do you think about the Detroit Lions? Had a unexpected run to the NFC Championship last year. Can they do it again?
So the Lions, I've always liked the Lions from afar just because they've been uh just absolutely sending it. Uh Also trying to like wave your camera a little bit. I think it's been all fuzzily buzzly. Um but uh the Lions uh they should be good. I think they'll be good.
They've
Their
improved
biggest
every
weakness
year.
was their biggest weakness was their secondary, and they spent their top 2 picks saying, "Screw you, this is." And they have oh my god, I can't remember his name. Former 49ers Mosley coming back from I think it was either ACL or Achilles, who also should be good.
We traded for
Uh,
the corner from Tampa Bay
and
too.
they also did that.
Carlton
So
Davis, I think.
their defense should be a lot better. The biggest problem with the Lions will also always be uh can Jared Goff win you a Super Bowl? Um
To be fair, he's gotten
Probably not.
one. He's gotten a 1 and an NFC Championship game in separate years.
Yes.
That's
The biggest thing with him is that he's very good when he's not harassed.
yep.
Um
He has
and they
incredible
lost
numbers in the pocket.
yeah, and they lost one of their offensive linemen.
Did they?
So um
They just
at least,
they rolled out the Brinks truck this offseason.
they really
Amon
did.
Ross St. Brown, paid. Panay Sewell, paid. Jared Goff, paid.
Yeah,
Next
Penny
offseason.
Sewell, like I just give him whatever he wants the next 10 years. Um,
This team,
Overall, I am optimistic. I think I have them winning the division. A lot of people are like, oh, they'll be the top seed. I still don't think that may be the case, but we'll see here in a second. There's a chance I'm going to have them at like 14-3 or something insane.
what's interesting is, again, I'm a Packers fan. I'm supposed to not like the teams in the NFC North.
Yeah.
The Lions stunk for
They're
so
so
long.
bad. They're so bad.
For so long. And if you watch their behind the scenes of the draft stuff, I have loved how they've approached the draft. I love the energy in that room. Brad Holmes, a GM. I love everything about that team. They are probably my third favorite team behind the Packers and the Niners, who I grew up with, which is really weird because they're a division rival, which is very odd. So, but regardless, let's figure out how many wins they have because I think it might. Well, they have a first place schedule, but I think it might be a lot. We'll see.
All right. First week, Sunday Night Football on NBC. It's the Los Angeles Rams.
Now that's interesting. I agree with your take that I think the Rams could start off slow. Is that in Detroit?
It's in Detroit.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Detroit the win.
All right. Are you writing these down right?
Yep.
All right. Next week, they welcome the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
It's another win.
Week 3, they go to Arizona.
It's interesting. I'm actually gonna take the Cardinals here. I think traveling to Arizona, especially early in the year before you get your legs under you, to face a running quarterback against a team you don't play very often, I think is going to be really hard.
I think the biggest thing with the Cardinals is I don't know if they have the pressure to make Goff not score 40 points. So it could be one of those things where the Cardinals score 45.
Yeah, it'll be like 45-42. Like, it's going to be disgusting.
Week 4 at home against Seattle.
Yeah, give me the Lions.
Monday Night Football as well.
Okay.
Then a bye week. After the bye week, they go and play the Cowboys in Dallas. But not that. I guess that mattered last year. The Cowboys were very good at home, but
honestly, give me the Lions.
Yep.
Although Micah could be a problem, but
week 7 at Minnesota.
Minnesota, I believe, is coming off a bye here.
Yes, so but it could also be the first start of JJ
McCarthy.
Yeah, so that's my biggest worry.
Give me the Vikings.
Oh, spicy.
Yeah.
Bounce back game, Tennessee.
Yeah.
At home.
Give me Detroit.
Then they go to the Packers.
Give me the Packers at home.
Then they go to CJ Stroud in Houston.
Give me CJ Stroud.
Then they play Jacksonville at home.
Jacksonville, I think, is such a weird team.
They're them and the Colts, I think, are going to lose games that you don't expect, and then they're going to win games you don't expect.
I think Trevor Lawrence is good. Is he good enough to beat Detroit in Detroit? I don't think so. Give me Detroit.
Next one is Jacksonville and then Indianapolis.
Home or away?
Away.
It's tough. It's really tough. I think still in a dome, give me Detroit.
Okay. Next up after that is home against on Thursday Night Football, short week, playing the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, give me the Lions. I don't like rookies making a short week. That sounds like a bad idea.
Then following another Thursday Night Football versus the Green Bay Packers.
This one's in Detroit?
In Detroit.
Okay, so I'll give them the win here.
And then they host the Buffalo Bills.
Ouch. God, give me the Bills?
Okay.
I don't know.
Potential trap game. They play at Chicago.
At Chicago. Man, I know he's been there for so long now, but Goff in the weather in Chicago just kind of scares me.
It's not wrong.
I also don't. Where did Caleb grow up?
Uh,
I
was it
want to know if he's.
George? Where did he grow up? He grew up in the greater Washington, D.C. area.
So he's experienced some cold.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, this feels like a Jahmyr Gibbs 200-yard game. Give me the Lions.
Then, at San Francisco.
Give me San Fran.
And then finishing up the season with the Vikings.
Where?
Ford Field, home.
Give me the Lions. Makes them 11-6.
So, depending on, I had Green Bay at 11-6.
And I had
So
them
depending on
splitting 1-1 head-to-head, so it'd be based off of other factors. I think it's
other
division record, right? It's division record. It's head-to-head, then division record, then conference
so.
record, I think.
I believe so.
So that's it for the NFC North.
Not shabby.
Shaping up to be a tough division.
It's going to be
one of those
bunch
divisions,
of crabs with knives.
one of those divisions where you probably say two teams make it to the playoffs, maybe three.
I think it's comfortable too.
I think two is comfortable.
Comfortable too. So I don't think the NFC South's getting two.
Exactly. So I think it'll be two in each division except for the South. That probably makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, let's transition. Let's have a seat at the bar. Let's take a look at the 49ers. So 49ers are currently, according to Vegas, the highest odds team to win the Super Bowl.
All right. So I think I want to hold out doing like a full breakdown on this schedule, but there's a couple snippets that I want to highlight.
Yep, go for it.
So the biggest thing for the Niners, there's a couple of facts. The first thing is the beginning of their schedule really light. They start off with the Jets, the hardest game by far in the first 6 weeks. But then they have this 3-game stretch between week 6 and week 8. Thursday night football, they go at Seattle. Not fun. Even with a new quarterback, or not new quarterback, but new scheme, new everything.
Coach, yep.
Not great. Then you welcome the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ow.
And you'd be like, oh, the 49ers are coming off Thursday night football. They got 10 days of rest. The Chiefs are coming off a bye.
Oh, Andy Reid off a bye. Give me the Chiefs.
Andy Reid off a bye.
Give me the Chiefs.
Cash in the check. It's going to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then they play the Cowboys at home, who also come off a bye.
Ow.
Isn't that great?
That sucks. Wow. So they play 3 division rivals in 4 weeks, which even if you think the other teams are not good, that sucks.
Yep.
One of them is a Thursday night game in Seattle.
Yep.
And then Kansas City and Dallas both coming off of byes. Ow. What's funny is I'm looking at the rest of their schedule, and they're gonna still make the playoffs just fine.
Well, yeah. I think the next thing I noticed was the another 3-game stretch of the Seahawks coming off their bye into Seattle, playing at home. They have to go to end of November. They have to go to Green Bay and Buffalo back to back. But it's not even one of those things where, because the 49ers love to stay over at places.
Yeah.
You stay there for the whole week. You practice. You get accommodated to the time zone. They do it a lot with the East Coast. Thanksgiving's in the middle. They're coming back home for Thanksgiving. And then, even better, Guess who's also on a bye?
Are
It's
you
the
kidding?
Buffalo Bills.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god.
They play
Schedule
five
make,
teams.
schedule maker hates them. Holy
They
moly.
play 5 teams coming off of byes this year.
And they have to go to
Um,
at Miami across
they have to go
country.
to at Miami, though it is later in the year, so you don't get the super humid
At Miami
Miami
at
trips.
Tampa. Wow.
And then you have
Holy
Detroit at the end of the year. It's just a slog. It's one of those things where I look at the Niners schedule,
this team's just gonna be
and
beat up.
I think it's last 4 of the 5 number 1 seeds made the Super Bowl from the NFC. So the number 1 seed is very important. And like the Niners are going to have to win some of these games that are just crap fests.
I mean, you know what
That
division's gonna have the number one seed probably. It's probably the NFC North. I think
or
it's
a certain team that squawks like a bird and throws rocks at Santa
they
may
could.
have an argument with that.
I don't know how they're. Well, did they finish second place? Do they have a second place schedule? So that's
I think it's first.
no, because the Cowboys, right?
Did the Cowboys win that division? I guess they did. So yeah, it'd be second place.
Yeah, Cowboys just stink.
Yeah, we'll get to the Eagles maybe next week. Their schedule does not scare me.
Oh, okay, then that's potentially likely. Yeah. Um, let's
Oh,
move on.
well, they all depend if the quarterback figures out how to not.
Again, we both think he was injured at the end of the year.
I
More
think
so
he
than
was very injured at the end of the year.
let's
Um,
let's
but
get slightly away from the 49ers. Let's transition to the Giants
all
of
right,
the San Francisco variety.
all right. So I got some Giants knowledge, and when I mean knowledge, I mean I'm listening to a lot of Giants games.
So just to give um, a little bit of a
It's been
recap,
a good couple of days.
it's been a good couple days. Now I believe they are coming off a sweep of someone.
They swept the Rockies, who were coming in on a 7-game win streak, which the Rockies were on a win streak. That's wild.
Yeah, that doesn't.
This was the first time all season they had won 3 games in a row. They blew last night's game in the ninth. They gave up 4 runs, but we don't need to worry about that. The big thing is because they've had so many injuries, they've been forced to call up all of the young guys.
Yep.
A lot of these people that people have been begging for, and the biggest thing is it's like the conundrum of young players are going to make mistakes, but if they make mistakes, I get angry. But I want young players to play, and that's what they're dealing with right now. But the biggest thing is, it's fine. Can you guess what Luis Matos has done in not since
I
this Pirate
know
series started, but before for just the Rocky series and the end of um,
the Dodger series.
maybe the Dodger. Yeah, I think the Dodger series. But he
Okay,
he had 6 starts since getting called up
I know he had like double-digit RBIs and was going bonkers.
in 6 games.
Okay,
He was 10 for 26
not bad.
with 2 home runs,
Pretty good.
3 doubles,
Pretty good.
and 16 RBIs.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Though I will say 11 of those came against 2 games against the Rockies.
Rockies. Now, to be fair,
It was
in
at San Francisco.
Yeah,
It
not
was in
not
San
at
Francisco.
Coors Field, not at Coors Field.
Um,
Let's
but
so let me look at this. So since we last had a podcast, which would have been back on the 11th, they took 2 of 3 from the Reds. They went 1-2 against the Dodgers. They
Yep.
swept the Rockies, and they are currently 1-1 after a comeback win today against the Pirates.
yes,
So compared to where they were, things are looking up. Even though Jung-Hoo Lee out for the year,
yeah.
season-ending shoulder surgery,
Jung-Hoo.
which is
I legitimately I
unreasonably
was watching Giants games this year for Jung-Hoo Lee.
Yeah.
And he's still on a 6-year contract. I'm excited for next spring training, and once he comes back. But also for some context for Luis Matos' mashing, through 2 days ago, MLB leaders for the month of May for RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
There's Christopher Morel of the Cubs with 18.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Ramirez with 17. Brett Rooker of the A's with 16. All these guys have done this in 17 games, and Luis Matos in 7 with 16. So
Kid can play.
Kid can we've figured out that he's very streaky, which is not great, but it's also one of those things where
Matos is an outfielder?
Yeah, he's a outfielder, and it's not bad. They still have Conforto. The big thing is when Austin Slater comes back from the IL, what to do with him, because he hasn't hit worth shit. I'm afraid to look at his numbers.
Just to give everybody a perspective on the Giants' upcoming schedule, they finish off their road trip with a 3-game set against the New York Mets, and then they're home for a 3-game set against the Phillies, as well as a 3-game set against the Yankees.
Yeah, this next stretch is going to be potentially not disastrous, but like the Phillies and the Yankees are the two best teams in baseball, outside like the Dodgers, but especially the Phillies have been like raking teams over the coals. But like,
yeah, they have the best like pitching and hitting.
So the big decision for the Giants is what do you do with Austin Slater? He is a consensus pro. He's really good in theory against right-handed hitting. That's why you bring him in, righty on righty. But in 39 at bats in 2024, he has 3 runs, 5 hits, 0 home runs, 1 RBI for a brilliant average of 128.
That's not going to do it.
It's not going to do it, but it's also one of those things where the Giants are notorious for
sticking to old guys.
Sticking with veterans. Yeah. He does not have any options, so you'd have to DFA him. And with all these injuries, they're not the type of franchise that usually is just like, we'll kick him to the curb. A lot of people think they should.
Just throw him in as part of the deal for Jazz. Just throw him in.
Hey, they got Vladdy Jr. Look out. San Francisco Giant.
Is that a
trade deadline? That's what I'm calling.
Is that a rumor?
He's got the second best odds. Because him and the Toronto Blue Jays are sucking, and he's sucking. So he's available. And when I mean available, I mean could be available. But I also wanted to give a shout out to the best baseball player in the Bay Area.
That's so depressing.
Mason Miller.
Yeah. That kid's nasty.
Soon to be ex-Oakland Athletic, because there's already rumors that every single team in baseball has already started circling the front office of the A's, being like, what would it take? What would it take? And the thing is, though, it's so frustrating because he's a young kid, and he could be their closer for the next half decade at least. Let me put this in outside of his first 2 appearances to start the year where he gave up 2 runs or whatever. In his last 15 games, and keep in mind this is a guy who throws 105 miles per hour with movement.
Yeah.
In 19 and a half innings, he has allowed 0 runs. He has struck out 40 batters, and he has walked no one. He is the first pitcher. This is from Sarah Lang's. He is the first pitcher with a scoreless 15-game span with more than 35 strikeouts and fewer than 5 walks since 1901.
Yeah, that kid's good.
Like, I'm watching. I literally have a thing on my phone for when it's the 9th inning for Oakland games, because there's nothing else of value to watch at the A's outside of protests and all that jazz and laughing at John Fisher.
He's the worst.
It's frustrating because we all know how this ends. He's gonna
He
get
gets
traded
paid.
at the deadline,
Of
and
course he does.
everyone's gonna be. And maybe not even this. It could be next year, and it's gonna be just. It's the most ace thing that we all know is about to happen. Like it doesn't even have to be like, oh, maybe they'll keep, maybe he'll be the one piece they save. It's like, even
No,
though
they
they've
never
got like 5 years of control, it's just like, oh, we can sell the top closer in all of baseball for with 5 years of control for like an entire farm system. Like
Now the question is what
closers have also been super valued when it comes to trade pieces recently and high end relievers and things, and you don't have to pay him. There's a chance it would require like 5 to 6 top 10 prospects. This like some insane haul,
I
which is
mean
like, the A's are just like,
is
this
there
is
a
an
team
absolute win.
is there a team that needs a closer that's like
The
second or
Dodgers,
third? Oh God. Stop.
the
Stop. I'm
Phillies,
so sick of the Dodgers.
New York,
I was gonna say the
like
Yankees probably pay for him.
well, you don't have to pay for him. That's the great thing.
Oh, I meant pay
It's
as in like trade.
I know, but it's
Uh,
just like he is electric. He is everything you want out of a shutdown insane closer, because it was something like um he has thrown more 100-mile power pitches than the rest of baseball combined this
combined.
year.
Yeah, he's
And it's like,
nuts.
and like he's on the same level as the kid that just got called up for the Pirates.
Oh
Of
my God, that kid is nuts.
that kid's that shit is, it's like,
Didn't he have
yes, a Steven Strasburg clone.
was that didn't he have like 14 strikeouts in 6 innings or something?
He had 11, but he struck out the first 7 batters of the game.
It's something with an S, right? I can't remember his name.
Skeens, I believe.
Oh, is it Paul Skeens?
Yeah.
Hey, that's my name.
His shit is absolutely bad shit.
No, it's
And he
crazy.
pitches tomorrow against the Giants.
Oh no. Oh, who do we have on the bump?
TBD.
Why? Who?
Because it's the same slot as Mason Black and a couple other people, so there's a chance they're gonna bullpen or bring up Mason Black again.
So we're gonna bullpen against that guy? Okay, dude. Bet the house on the Pirates. Bet the house on the Pirates. I don't care how
Hey,
bad they are, how good they are. Bet the house on the Pirates.
you never know. You never know. But it should be a good one.
Before we finish
Um,
up, let's briefly touch on the Warriors. We'll talk more baseball or basketball potentially next week. We did have a couple series finish, but we want to see how these next series develop. With the Warriors, frankly, it's a lot of what we said last episode. Brandon Ingram is the big name, quote unquote, that's been attached to the Warriors. Um, I I don't think Brandon Ingram really fits this team, to be
I
honest.
I don't think so either. My only guess is if it depends on what um the Pelicans really want. Like, do they want a Chris Paul type slash a? It also, like, what's it going to take you to get that player, because you have to sign him either this year or next. So that's going
Well,
to be like a near max.
that's
Um,
interesting because you could put CP3 at the 1, and you put CJ back to the 2,
yeah,
and then I don't
get
know who
Trey
the
Murphy and
Trey Murphy, Herb
Herb
Jones, and
Jones.
then Zion and Valanciunas, who's a free agent, I think. So
I think so.
whoever their five
Um,
men. CP3 lobs to Zion sounds sick for what it's worth.
Though I could also see CP3 just after if the Warriors do cut him, just going to Los Angeles and vibing, even on a
Oh, I
bad
think
team.
that's
Um, but for the Warriors, recently I've heard things thrown out of Jared Allen
I
uh,
like Jared Allen.
for a big man that they haven't had since Bogut.
I'm cool with that.
The biggest problem is, like, Lauri Markkanen makes a lot of sense.
He makes all the
Uh,
sense.
the problem with Lauri Markkanen is that Danny Ainge just sniffs out, just like, I must destroy your franchise.
Yeah,
I
his
want 17 picks and 3 pick swaps and Kaminga. And you're like, Danny Ainge. It's the same thing with dealing with the GM in Toronto. Where like, okay, are we gonna be? Are
are we
we
gonna get
serious?
blasted?
Like, are you actually trading this guy, or are you blowing smoke up my ass? Like, and it's the thing with Danny Ainge is like, do the Warriors 26 and 28 first round picks? Could those be really high picks because the Warriors could suck after a couple years if it goes completely tits up?
I don't know if
Maybe,
Tim
but is
Kawakami's
that
the
enough
one.
to? If there's another desperate franchise out there that
Yeah,
really like a good example is the Phoenix Suns picks for
yeah.
with Brooklyn. Like those may look pretty tasty in a couple years. It's like, is that more um adventurous than
Well,
Warriors picks?
what's interesting is Kawakami retweeted this, but I don't know if he said it or if he was just retweeting from someone else. But he quote tweeted about um, how it's not unreasonable to start thinking that Warriors 26, 28 picks might be closer to Charlotte picks than we ever want them to be.
Yes, no, I was listening to him on the radio a little bit earlier, um, and like it makes it I think the biggest thing with the Warriors is I think they need to decide. You can't keep playing the middle. Like, decide, are you going to go for it and have a chance to be really really bad, or are you going to start that now and just say like we're trading away, like basically trading away pieces, accepting that you're going to be bad for a cut, like basically giving up the rest of the Curry years, depending on how long Curry wants to play. Like even trade Curry, which I would never do because I think that's just franchise suicide. But like
No, they can't do that.
it's one of those things
And
where it's like pick a lane. Like stop being like, ooh, we
when
may do
tickets are
things.
expensive as they are, you cannot trade Curry and make it so people are not putting
Well,
butts.
they'll be cheap tickets soon if they trade them. Then
Well,
like it may be a better ticket to go to a Golden State Valkyries game than a Warriors game if that happens.
I mean, I think realistically, Curry and Kaminga are untradeable. Everyone else can go.
But
I
who
think
has value besides Kaminga? Like
Draymond Green, Moses Moody, Brandon Pozemski, Trace Jackson Davis.
Pajemski does, but it's still like I think the only way you're getting pieces is if you're trading Kaminga. My biggest problem with Kaminga is he a number one on a team post Steph in 3 years? Like,
No.
and if he's not, let him go play in New Orleans or Charlotte and score
But
30 points a night, but do nothing.
the problem is you need a good enough player in return to make giving up on his potential worth it.
Correct. And the
I'm just
problem
saying.
is that a lot of those questions may be like, are you trading Kaminga for Jared Allen? Or are you trading him
No,
for Nick Claxton?
no,
Or are
you
you
can't.
trading him for Paul George?
That's closer,
And it's just like,
but he's old. I mean, just bring back Kevin Durant.
forehead.
Yeah.
Um, but I think they have to make a decision about um, Chris Paul's contract kicks in, I think, at the end of June. So they have basically 1 month from
They can
roughly
also
today
they
to figure that
can
out.
negotiate with him to move it back, which there's been discussions that they might do that.
Maybe, yeah.
So, because
But that also
obviously,
requires them paying
well, Chris,
for some of the contract.
yeah, well, Chris Paul isn't stupid. I think Chris Paul wants to be somewhere where he wants to be and not be thrown in a trade like he was, where he got shipped to Oklahoma City, even though he played well. And it was not somewhere
Not
he.
wrong,
So
but I also like the same thing with like I think Moody can play, but it's like there's so many teams where like I think the Denver Nuggets would have loved to have Moody. I think the Dallas Mavericks, they'd play him. There's so many teams where it's just like
he's so good. I hate that he's just not
that
getting.
he's too nice for his own good to not make a funk. But it's like if you're not going to play him, Like, and the problem is like he doesn't have much value because you didn't play him, even though he has the flashes of brilliance. It's just like what?
Dude, every
What?
time he plays, he has like 4 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block, and it's just like plus 10, plus minus. Like he's
Yeah,
just.
it's not bad. Um, I also I wouldn't be surprised if they like go for someone funky, like someone that we're not thinking of. That's just kind of like it fits because like the reason that the marketing stuff works. The problem is it's day and age. The thing that with the marketing stuff is he signed a contract extension. So for the next like I think 1 or 2 years, he's at like 18 million.
Mhm.
Which means you don't have to. He's not an apron, so you
Yeah.
don't have to match 100% the money. You don't have to 1,000% have Chris Paul in the deal. You don't have to have Andrew Wiggins 1,000% in the deal. You may want to have those, but it's not one of those things where you're forced to like we
I mean,
have to send this guy.
can you like Kaminga, Wiggins, something,
You
and
can
like a
do
first or
Kaminga
two?
Wiggins, like GP3 or
GP2.
Kavan, and then one of their salary fillers for him plus draft picks,
I mean, I
which
do
is
that.
which is not unheard of, especially if you have Draymond and him um, defensively. You're not upset. The biggest thing is always going to be if you lose Kaminga is you're already not athletic. What
Mhm.
do you do? But
It's
I think
okay.
we'll know much more coming up to the draft
We
here.
sign and trade Clay for Jonathan Isaac. We trade Chris Paul for money. We trade for Nick Claxton. We trade for Markkinen. We fix the team. Boom. I'm curious where CP3 ends up. I don't. I think. I think he's most likely to get traded somewhere where he stays and doesn't get bought out.
Maybe I could also just see him getting bought out and they just kick the can down the road. Like there's like,
CP3. Oh my god! I figured it out.
oh no,
CP3 to the Bulls. Because the Bulls are
no,
stupid, and the Bulls are like, we want to compete, and that's why we want to sign DeMar DeRozan and all this stuff. So we trade CP3,
no.
GP2, and a first for Alex Caruso. Send it in.
Uh, that'd be one of those things where they do that if you take Levine's contract.
I don't want that contract.
Hey, just imagine Levine is the next, and that's a discussion for another day that I know a lot of people have talked about. Is who is the next Aaron Gordon of a relatively high level draft pick or potential player that buys into being the super role player glue guy? And
It's
it's
not
like,
Levine. That will never be Levine.
could be Levine.
That guy was basically traded to Detroit, and then he got an optional surgery to avoid being traded to Detroit. That
That
guy's
is,
not gonna buy in.
um,
There's no way. No
eh,
way.
we'll discuss. We'll discuss it in the future. We'll discuss. We'll discuss.
Speaking of the future, we're gonna get out of here. This is the end of episode 4 of the PTS podcast where the Poulters talk sports. If you could give us a like, give us a comment, really helps out. Find us on social media, particularly on Twitter, as well as on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining us. We will catch you guys next week. Thank you very much.
See you, everyone.